We still do 7 NUFC Matters shows for free a week. But if you want to support the channel, there are a few ways of doing it. Hit the like button on each live broadcast or video. This helps the channel grow. Hit the subscribe button and select the all notifications options. Hit the thanks button to buy a super sticker. You can do this on the live chat too. You can also join our Patreon page or buy us a coffee at the link in all of our video descriptions below. We are also looking for sponsors. If you want our latest advertising rates and how you can get involved, then email John at nufcmatters1892@gmail.com. Thanks for watching.
Critics attack. It feels like I've been talking to myself again. But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you. If I don't say the words, then maybe it's not true. And it feels alright when they come and say to you,
Welcome along to another pre-recorded episode of NUFC Matters. It's Those Were the Days, and George has got another one entitled Those That Got Away. George, over to you.
Yes, Those That Got Away part 2, if you like. And just in case you're just catching up, these are all lads that did well enough to get a professional contract, and actually a couple of them had quite significant careers at Newcastle United, but for some reason they were transferred, or their form dropped off and they disappeared, when in fact many people thought they would have interesting careers. And so that's what I'm going to talk about today. And the first one is a centre forward who Paul Cannell, who born and bred in Newcastle, and you can see the era, the 70s, the haircut and the mustachio. I mean, he was a smart lad, so he had a big fan base, particularly amongst the female supporters. But interestingly, Paul's early days in football, his junior days, were all at Sunderland. It looked like he was going to have a significant career at Sunderland, not Newcastle. But just as he was on the point of turning professional, the Newcastle scouts persuaded him to come home to Newcastle United. So in 1973, he signed a professional contract for Newcastle United, and very timely, because they were on the look for good forwards, particularly centre forwards. And it wasn't long, by 74, 75, Paul was getting regular games in the first team. And in 75, he was a bit of a fixture, and actually played 49 games and scored 13 goals. And it looked like he was on his way to a decent career. But suddenly, in 1976, Newcastle got an offer for him from America, from Washington Diplomats. And Paul blazed the trail to America for local lads, and that's where he went and played for Washington Diplomats. And his first season there, he played 21 games and 13 goals. The next season, 78, he played 47 games and scored 24 goals. So he was making quite a career for himself. He then went into something which was new to a lot of people here, indoor football with Memphis Rogues in the indoor league, and played a season and a half with them, scoring 7 goals in 29 games. And then to add to the indoor stuff, He played for Calgary Broncos indoor, and then back to outdoors with Detroit Express in 1961, playing 6 games for them and scoring 1 goal. And then back to the same year, 81, back to Washington Diplomats, where he played 13 more games for them, scoring 11 goals. So he was still getting goals and playing time. But the back end of 81, he finally decided he wanted to come home and got an offer from Mansfield Town, and had a decent season with them, playing 30 games and scoring 14 goals. And then making the attempt to come even closer to home, he shifted from Mansfield to Berwick Rangers, where he had a good season with them, playing 14 games and scoring three goals. He then his playing career seemed to disappear after that, and he tried various coaching scenarios with different clubs, but none were terribly successful. And in the end, Paul ended up as a sales rep, and that's where he ended, using his football connections to get him into sales. But when he started, he looked like he had a glowing career as a centre forward. He was tall. He had ability in the air and seemed to be good on the ground. But it wasn't to be. And he thought he'd find pastures new when he went to America. Now with Paul, I've got to be careful that what I'm saying is right, because he's still around, and I do know, without any contradiction, that he's a fan of NUFC Matters, and he watches quite a lot of our shows and comments on them as well. So this is the one I've had to make sure I was right, in case Paul happens to come across it.
And you can get a copy of his book at the back page. It's called F and Hell. It's Paul Cannell, which is well worth to read, by the way.
Yeah, thanks for that, Steve. I'd forgotten all about that, but I shouldn't have done. Well, that's a good plug for him. But as I say, he'll see that. He'll probably see this, because I know he's a good fan of NUFC Matters. The next young man is Ray Rocky Hudson, who came into the Newcastle scene, and that's him in his later part of his career, again in America, where he became a well-known commentator and DJ and all sorts of things. Born in Gateshead, came as a midfielder, and I think the problem for Rocky was when he came into the professional teams at Newcastle, he was being compared with another Gateshead lad called Paul Gascoigne, and I don't think that helped him in any way at all. So he 74, he signed professional contracts, and by 75, he was playing regularly in reserves and that level. And then 76, he got into the first team and played 25 games, scored 2 goals, and looked like he had a glowing career going with him. But then towards the end of that season, he got an offer from America, from Scotland, to go on loan with Greenock Morton, and he had a season with them and managed only 4 games and didn't score a goal. And at the end of that season, Newcastle got an offer from Fort Lauderdale in America, Fort Lauderdale Strikers, and off he went, the next sort of immigrant from Newcastle, following Paul Cannell. He played 151 games with them and scored nearly 50 goals. So he did quite well there. He moved on to Union Southern in lower down in the league in America, but only played 10 games for them. And then moved on in '84 to Minnesota Seafarers. Played 21 games for them and 2 goals. Then he stayed with them, but played indoor for a season, for a couple of seasons rather, and played 112 games, scoring 44 goals. And 87, he went to Edmonton Brickmen, and again an indoor team, 18 games, 4 goals. And then he went back to Fort Lauderdale Strikers and had another season with them, and had 13 games, scoring seven goals. And he then became more involved on the coaching side, and was coaching a couple of teams in America, Miami Fusion and DC United, in the American leagues. But then he became involved in commentaries, and there you can see him in front of the BN Sports logos, who he was a regular commentator for. And I understand he still has connections with them, but particularly in relation to the work they do in America. He also then, and as well as the football, took on the role of being a DJ in local clubs around where he lived in America, and Fort Lauderdale, and made another career for himself. But his prime football career was obviously in the States. The sad thing is, when he came into the Newcastle team, I can remember him coming into the team. Everybody thought we had another diamond from Gateshead, but it wasn't to be, sadly. And I never could get to the bottom of what happened. But he suddenly disappeared on loan, and then he was away, completely out of it, with an offer from the United States. Now, I'm reliably informed, and I've not actually spoken with myself, but I do know people that still know him, that he really did have a successful life out there, made a good life for himself. And while we're looking for people to be successful in Newcastle United, we can't help but wish those that move on well too, and we'll certainly do that with Rocky Hudson. But yeah, and the other thing is another really nice lad, basically, and able to carve a career out of what he was doing in football, and that was what was important. Next, we go to a very tidy footballer, Nigel Walker, who was came through the ranks. Another one born in Gateshead, and 5'10", able to play either centre back or defensive midfield, and quite a quality player. Now, his youth football, he played at Wycombe, who had a very strong youth side at the time. But when it came to thinking about going forward, he was picked up by Newcastle scouts, Joe McCartney, who I've mentioned on these podcasts before, picked Nigel up and took him to Newcastle, and he signed professional forms in 1977, and had first season bit bitty, in and out, but then had 2 reasonable seasons, and in all ended up playing 68 games, and even in those 68 games, although he was defensively minded, he still managed to score 5 goals, which was something quite interesting. He had a loan spell at Plymouth Argyle for nearly half a season, but they didn't use him. He didn't even get a game for Plymouth, and I think that frustrated him and frustrated Newcastle United. So Newcastle brought him home, but he wasn't home long before, again, another one who was succumbed by an offer from the United States, from San Diego Sorcerers, and he had a good first season with them, 29 games, scoring 1 goal, and he stayed with them to play indoor and played 20 games indoor and didn't score any goals. He then, at the end of 1983, decided he wanted to come back to England, and he got an offer from Crewe Alexandra, and he went to Crewe Alexandra and played a season for them. Played 20 odd games, scoring 6 goals, and he had such an impressive season. He got offers from other clubs, and lo and behold, he ended up going to Sunderland to play for Sunderland. He only played only played half a dozen games in '84, but didn't score any goals, and then went to Blackpool for a loan spell, and did quite well at Blackpool, playing 40 games and scored 9 goals. He then got a nice transfer from Blackpool to Chester City, again playing 45 games and scoring 9 goals. And then came home in end of 84, 1980, season 85. He went to Hartlepool United and played 82 games for them, scoring 8 goals. And then slowly but surely, as his career slowed down, he ended up playing at Blythe Spartans for a while in '82. And then after Blythe Spartans, he had a spell at Dunston Federation, which is a team that somebody on this sitting here might know something about. And he had quite a tidy career, but not the career people thought he would have, because he was, my memory is, having seen him, that he was a very, very tidy footballer. He wasn't just a hard-nosed defender. He was a lad that did quite a lot. And when he finished playing football, he went and took a teaching qualification and ended up as a teacher at Enterprise, Gateshead, Greencroft Enterprise Community School, and I understood made a very successful career as a teacher, becoming a deputy headmaster and moving on to other management structures in education, and of course, no doubt, taking the odd football lesson as well, I would imagine. Although I haven't been able to see any record of him taking teams or anything, but has good reputation as in the teaching profession. That's for sure. But again, as I say, someone who came into the team with great future ahead of them. It appeared. He then had a good input into football through non-league, and then ended up as a teacher. So not the career that people expected, but quite a tidy one in both a football sense, and then having the good sense to look after himself when the football was over, to go into a profession. He went into the teaching profession. So that's Nigel Walker, and I do say it with all sincerity, he really was. He did really look the part. He was a very, very tidy footballer. Now go to another local defender who came in with good reputation from youth football. He was a Sunderland lad, over 6 foot, central defender, and he came into the side in '81. All his youth career was in the juniors and the ends at Newcastle United, and eventually in 1981 he was given a professional contract, and within a year of signing the contract, he was getting the odd game in the first team, and then by 84, 85, he almost became a fixture in the first team, and played nearly 2 seasons, 79 games. He played. He didn't score, but was making quite a reputation as quite a dour centre half. You know, in the middle at Newcastle, and had a lot of following, and certainly I remember in the Gallagher corner that a lot of people thinking that we'd got a centre half for a few years ahead. But after 85, towards the end of 85, he had an injury, and he seemed to drop out of the first team scene for a while, and Newcastle decided to send him out on loan to Bradford City, and he went to Bradford City for, I think it was half a season. He only played 5 games, which wasn't much good to him or anybody else, before he came back to Newcastle, and they very quickly transferred him to Carlisle United, and I think the contact there was really Bobby Moncur. I think Bobby Moncur was the architect of that move, and he played nearly 100 games, 99 games for Carlisle, and scored 11 times. But then in the end of 88, he got the opportunity to go to Dundee in Scotland, and went to Dundee, and had a second career in Scotland with over 60 games for them, scoring two goals. He then came south again and got the opportunity to go to Torquay United, playing 61 games for them and scoring six goals. He then, in an attempt to come home, ended up going to Spennymoor United, and virtually ended his playing career at Spennymoor United, and went back to Torquay in 1999 as a coach, and spent 2 years coaching at Torquay before he dropped out of football altogether. And he as I say, he had the management role, coaching role at Torquay, and it looked like that was going to go, but he then dropped out and became an agent, a player's agent, which he did for a very long time, and ironically, one of his first clients was a young man called Paul Gascoigne. Now, I hadn't realised that until I did the research into this particular thing, but and had quite a successful career as an agent. I don't know if he's still around, but who knows what. He certainly, if he was being agent to people like Paul, he would have other contacts, I'm sure, that would fill his notebook. His only honour, if you like, in football terms, was he was at Torquay when they won the 4th Division playoff, and got a medal for that. So, but Wes was a typical dour defender, and as I say, big lad who we thought was going to make quite a name for himself, and had stayed at Newcastle, but not how it worked out, and it pity in many ways that it didn't. But as I say, ended his days as a football agent, which is a career which we hear an awful lot about now. But I can't say I've heard his name mentioned that even in that context recently. The next person I want to move to is someone who had came into the Newcastle scene with quite a reputation as a youth player. Neil MacDonald, born in Wallsend, the town where I live, and I have nice big lad, 5'11", well made, and had the followed the track that many lads in Wallsend did, of course, to Wallsend Boys Club and all of that, but also took a lot of he came into football through Wallsend Boys Club, and with the help of local scouts, Brian Watson and Peter Kirkley, he ended up with a professional contract at Carlisle United. And in 1983, Newcastle signed him to bring him home into the Newcastle team. And almost instantly, he made it into the team. It looked like he was going to be a great player. He had some fantastic games. On a personal note, in the years when I was struggling to get back into football with my bad knee, I sought games wherever I could get them to test it out. And one club I used to play for regularly was Wallsend Corinthians, who were a well-run amateur team, run by the lads that played, and had a really good background, and quite regularly went a long way in the amateur cup, well above the league that they played in. And one of the stars of that team was called Jimmy MacDonald, and he was Neil MacDonald's dad. Now, Jimmy was a fantastic footballer, but he was very slight and was easily knocked off the ball. But when Jimmy got a hold of the game, he really did get hold of the game. So it was no surprise to me when I seen the skill that Neil had, that obviously his dad had done work with him, particularly on his footwork. And so when he got into the Newcastle first team, it was no surprise to me that he started to play some brilliant football. And he signed in 83, and by 85, 86, he was a fixture in the club. And by 88, he played 180 games and scored 24 goals, either as a midfielder or occasionally as a right back. Now that's a picture of one of the I don't think it's the reserves or one of the lower teams going off on the bus. And Neil's there, but so is some of the other lads we've talked about. Rocky Hudson's in there, and I think Paul Stevenson as well. But
Wes Saunders there as well.
Wes Saunders, that was the other one. Yes, sorry, Wes Saunders as well. Yeah, so there was quite a few of them, and obviously good mates. Neil played very well for Newcastle, and at one stage so well that I mean, in 83-84 season, he played for England Youth and 5 times and scored a goal. And then in the 86-87 season, played for the under-21s 5 times. He didn't manage to score, but played on each occasion. And interestingly enough, for the under-21s, he played in 2 positions, right back and in midfield. So he was versatile and quite not not quite a good player. He was a good player, not just quite a good player. But at the end of 88, he had an injury and his career had slowed down a little bit. And Newcastle got a bid from Everton for him. And in 91, it went to Everton for a reasonable fee and had a couple of good seasons with Everton. Played over 90 games for Everton. That's him in the Everton strip. And scored 4 goals. Again, another injury blighted his career at Everton. And in an attempt to get back into first team football, he took a step down to Oldham Athletic and went and played for them. And played 21 games, scoring 2 goals. But wasn't there long when he got an offer of an uplift to go to Bolton Wanderers in 1994 and played 6 games for them when he got another really bad injury and had nearly a season out until mid 1995. He ended with an offer at Preston North End and went and played a season for them, playing 34 games. In total in his career, played over 300 league games. But then as his career petered out at Preston, he got the opportunity to go and coach Carlisle United. And I think that the picture there's him at Carlisle United. He then took a strange decision and went to Norway, to Osterberg FK, and stayed there for about 7 seasons and made a great name for himself as a coach. 2015 came home and went to coach at Blackpool, and 15 rather went to coach at Blackpool. And then in 2017 got the opportunity to go to Ireland and coach Limerick in the Irish League, which he did relatively successfully. The records show, but he never came back to the Northeast, not to play or not to coach. And when his coaching in Ireland finished, he came back and took up a job with Newcastle Brewery and held down quite a nice job with them on the publicity side, and took part in showing people around the breweries when they were doing their tours for the general public. He was he had other football appointments in 2023. Tried to come back again and assistant coach at Kidderminster Harriers, but that didn't last very long, and he got short-term appointment at Hartlepool as assistant manager to Simon Grayson, and sort of headed up his backroom staff. But after that, he disappeared out of football, as I say, and ended up working for Newcastle Breweries. Neil was, I personally, I know other people were as well, disappointed when Neil's career petered out at Newcastle, because it looked after his appearances with the under-21s that he had a glowing career ahead of him when, like so many promising players, when an injury kind of slowed him down, and that kind of knocked the stuffing out of him. I think he was struggling to get back in the team, desperate to get some first team football. So I think when the Everton offer came, I think he felt obliged to take it. But again, a local lad who well-established local family, and a nice lad as well, Neil MacDonald. I didn't know him that well personally. I met him briefly in passing once when I was out somewhere, and he was out with his father, and Jimmy and I had a nut, and Neil was there. But a nice lad, and one of the ones that got away, I really wished he hadn't got away, because he was a not just a tidy footballer. He was a nice guy, and I'm led to believe a very very good coach. He got his reputation in Norway with the Norwegian team he coaches was really high, and he did exceptionally well over there, and as I say, has a growing reputation. The next one of these is another local player that came in, very exciting player. Paul Stevenson. Paul Stevenson came in, and from Wallsend again, and came in with a reputation as a defender. He played for all the Newcastle youth teams and junior teams, and looked like he was set for something great when in '85 he was offered a professional contract and took it, and it wasn't long before he was in the team, but not as a defender, as a very good, dangerous right winger by then, and very pacey, very strong, and in a matter of the season sort of in and out in '85, and then but by '86, '87 he was kind of in and out the team regularly, and then by '88 he was almost a fixture, and played 61 games for Newcastle and scoring one goal. But he in '88 he seemed to fall out of favour, and Newcastle got an offer for him from Millwall. So he ended up going to Millwall, where he started a fresh career, and indeed quite a successful career with Millwall. So from '89 to '92, '93, he played 100 games for Millwall, scoring 16 goals. So and he was quite a popular player at Millwall. And for a short while, when he was playing at his best at Millwall, there were rumblings around Newcastle that he might actually come back. He was playing so well, but that never happened. And indeed, towards the end of '93, 92, '93, he was not getting regular games and getting a bit fed up, and kind of asked for a change. And the change that Millwall gave him was to send him out on loan to Gillingham, and he played a season at Gillingham, playing 15 games and scoring 6 goals. Then he came back to Millwall in '93, '94, and at the end of that season they transferred him to Brentford, where he went straight into the first team, had 2 good seasons with them, and played 70 games, scoring 12 goals, and looked like he was set for Brentford for a while. But again, an unfortunate injury for Paul, and he was in and out the team, a bit fed up, and then he got the opportunity to go to York City in end of '95, and so he did, and he had a good 2 seasons at York, or 3 seasons at York, where he played 97 games, scored 18 goals. So he building on his career, and still quite a classy winger and very speed merchant. And he did well at York, but he then got an offer at the end of '98 to come home, or as near as home as he could, from Hartlepool United. And Hartlepool paid a sizable fee for him, and he came back and had 3 or 4 seasons at Hartlepool, playing over 147 games for Hartlepool and scoring 9 goals. So from his it's interesting with Paul Stevenson, from his very narrow beginnings, he actually played at nearly 500 league games for one team or another and scoring over 30 goals. He was another who kind of flattered to deceive, because in 1986 he was another one who got into the England youth team and had 2 games with the England youth team and scoring 2 goals. After his spell at Hartlepool as a player ended, he became the caretaker manager in 2006, and went to Norwich City as assistant manager 2007 to 2009. Then to Huddersfield to manage their academy, and in 2010 became assistant at Huddersfield, and left to Huddersfield and went to manage Accrington Stanley for a season. Then he went as an assistant to Blackpool, and went to Scotland and had a spell, 2 seasons, a full season as assistant manager at Kilmarnock. And in 2017, 2019, he came back to the northeast to Middlesbrough to manage their under-21 side. 2019 to 2020, he was the assistant manager at Blythe Spartans. Then in 21-22, he actually went back to Kilmarnock and as assistant manager, and had a good spell with them. And then suddenly in 2023, which not so long ago, he became manager of the Northern Ireland, assistant manager of the Northern Ireland under-21 squad. And as far as I can see, he still works for the Northern Ireland FA in some capacity. But his last footballing job was assistant manager to the under-21. So somebody that had a really good career in football in every respect, both playing and in management. And but again, I never knew Paul personally, but everything I hear about him was what a nice lad he was, what a great lad he was. And in total, another one who played nearly 500 league games in at senior level and scoring over 30 goals. And somebody that could so easily have been a fixture in a Newcastle United team for a long time, but got lost his way after a series of injuries blighted his career. But as I say, even now he still has a role in football with the Northern Ireland FA, and which is nothing to be sneezed at. It shows he's done all these badges and things like that, and to carve out that kind of career, which is great. So there's another half a dozen those that got away, if you like, who could so easily have been, with another twist of luck, so easily have been stars for Newcastle United in a way in which would have intrigued all of us and pleased all of us. But they at least they made themselves careers after Newcastle, which I suppose is the important thing. And it's no surprise though when you look at the number of young people that go through a team like Newcastle. And I know from my own experience, even many years ago in the 50s and 60s, I was on Tuesdays and Thursdays when they used to train. I was one of about 100 that used to go Tuesdays and Thursdays to train, and was lucky enough to be one of the select lot that used to get to go on a Saturday as well and sometimes play. So it's no surprise that a lot of them got away. It just the pity of these ones is that they seem to have made a career at Newcastle, and for some reason, bad luck, loss of form, whatever, they ended up moving on. And of course, you've got to remember that the football club isn't a charity, and if they think they can make some money, they will. So anyway, I think it's still worth reminding ourselves about the opportunities some of these lads got, and the amount of playing time and pleasure they gave us as well. So another group of those that got away.
Great stuff, George. Thanks for all your work. Look forward to seeing you on the next one, mate.
Thank you, Steve. Thanks for watching, everybody. It's a pleasure.
A big thanks to all our sponsors, Skips and Bins. You can find them at their website, skipsandbins.com. Contact them at www.skipsandbins.com/contact. Say hello to low-cost waste disposal with pay-as-you-go and contract waste management. A big thanks to Mr. Vicky's Sauces, handmade in Cumbria. You can find them at their website, mrvickies.co.uk. Email info@mrvickies.co.uk or telephone 01768 210 102. Thanks to our fanzine sponsor, United Group Travel. There are no strangers on our tours, just friends you haven't met yet. 2-crew driver and courier, local family company, 3-star plus quality hotels and no interchanges. Hot and cold snacks and drinks available on the coach, all excursions included. Their website, unitedgrouptravel.com. Email beverly.ugtl@gmail.com. Telephone 01670 632 460 or 0791 666 4174. Just £30 per person deposit. Thanks to Media Arts for all the help with the technical side of things. And if you like listening to us as a podcast, you can go to Sports Social Podcast Network or to iTunes, Spotify, or other podcast providers. If you want to support the show, then hit the subscribe button. It's free. We do 7 shows a week. Hit the little thumb up under the video, which is the like button, or click share to share to your social media. You can also join the channel on YouTube by hitting the join button for as little as $1.99 a month. If you want to become an NUFC Matters member, you can go to nufcmatterspodcast.co.uk. It's a £25 one-off fee. You get your pen, you get your badge, a key ring, you get your beer mat and your fridge magnet and your membership card, nufcmatterspodcast.co.uk for that. And we have an event early next year, 13th of February 2026, an evening with Beardsley, Waddle and Gascoigne takes place at the Tyne Theatre and Opera House. To buy your tickets for that event, go to the box office 0191 243 1171 or Tyne Theatre and Opera House.uk.